Hi friends, today we are going to talk about another design pattern called bulkhead design pattern. The theory or concept of bulkhead has been borrowed from marine industry in which the ships have a bulkhead. So what does bulkhead actually do? It is basically in bulkheads, what we do is we divide all of the ship into different bulkheads or different compartments so that if there is any hole in the ship or any damage in the ship during its journey, only that compartment floods. So, for example, this is one of the views, cross-sectional views of a ship. So, we can see here that the sides of the ship has been divided into compartments. So, if there is any damage here, then water is just going to collect in this compartment. If there is any damage here, it is going to collect in that compartment. Similarly, at the base, you can see this is the solid surface, and below it, there is a ship's line. And here also, you can see that there are compartments, so that if any damage is done from below, then it is limited to a single compartment. Let's suppose the damage is so big that it damages the inner compartment of the bulkhead as well. So, for example, if this this bulkhead was damaged and the inner compartment or inner wall of the bulkhead also damages, so what is going to happen is the water is going to flow in this compartment, the bigger compartment we can see. So there are longitudinal bulkheads as well, so that all of the ship is divided into this longitudinal bulkhead as well. So the water does not flow in this compartment and there are chances of survival for the ship. So the main concept is we have divided all of our component into different smaller components. So a damage to one compartment does not affect the other compartment, does not affect the integrity of whole object. Similarly, a similar concept we use in service design. So for example, you have a service which has to call multiple services. So this is your service, and it has to call this service as well, this service as well, and this service as well. Resources of a particular service or instance are limited. For example, your CPU is limited, your memory is limited, and your connections are also limited. For example, the number of connections you can make from a given instance is also limited. Now, what is going to happen if this service goes down? Goes down as in this service crashes or does not respond in a timely manner. So rather than going down, in the case of going down, we won't be able to establish connection. Let's assume that this service has a degraded performance and we are getting its response in, let's say, 60 seconds. Earlier, it was maybe 20 milliseconds, but degradation has led its latency to 60 seconds. What is going to happen? We are going to keep opening requests. As the request comes, we are going to keep opening requests, and as and when requests are made to this service, so these are different services, these are not servers but different services, and the requests are going to keep open on this service S1, and soon we are going to choke our number of open connections or allowed connections on this instance. And in that case, we won't be able, if our connection limit is choked, we won't have free connections to make call to this service. So disruption in service S1 has resulted in your performance being degraded or totally stalled for calling S2 as well and S3 as well, because you don't have enough resources to call S2 and S3. Similar scenario can be seen in which you have multiple tenants or multiple consumers calling for your service. So this is client 1, this is client 2, and this is client 3. These are basically different different consumers who want to consume your service via API or via any other mechanism. This is your service. So what is going to happen is, let's suppose this client C1 becomes rogue and it starts sending large number of requests, consuming all the connections on your instance. So what is going to happen is, a single client can take whole of your service down. Your service won't be, since you have choked on your number of connections, or you have basically ran out of number of connection resources on your instance. What is going to happen is, client C2 and C3 won't be able to access your service. A single action of a single consumer can impact working of other services as well, other consumers as well. So in these cases, what we want to do is, we want to limit the impact of single bad service on whole of your service. So what we can do is, hypothetically consider this. You have 3 services, C1, C2 and C3, and instead of having all the resources like in the previous case, what we do is, we create compartment of resources for each consumer. So even if the client C1 goes rogue and it is trying to make more requests, what we can do is, its impact is going to be limited to this compartment. And C2 can continue to make requests to your service, consuming its own compartment, and C3 is going to similarly do that. So disruption, if the resources for C1 compartment are choked, then it is going to impact service consumer C1 only. It is not going to impact C2 and C3 because they have separate compartments. Let's try to consider this in terms of connection terminology. How we can do is, from the resource point of view, if we want to make connections to different consumers, this is your service. If we want to make connections to service 1, service 2 and service 3, what we can do is, instead of having all the connections dedicated consumed by any of the service, we make dedicated compartments of connections, or connection pool we can say. This is connection pool. And each consumer is called, or each upstream service is called using its connections from its dedicated compartment of connection pool. So even if this service is not responding in its timely manner, connections from this compartment of connection pool is exhausted. Connection pool for service S2 and service S3 remains intact, and they can continue to work independently. So this way we are able to compartmentalize or create bulkheads for each and every service, whether they are calling us, we can create compartments, and whether we are calling them and we are dependent on their performance. And using this type of architecture, you can have different SLAs and SLOs for service. For example, if service S1 is a bigger service and S2 and S3 are smaller services, so you can create a bigger compartment of connection pool or resources for interacting with S1, and you can create smaller compartments or have smaller dedicated resources for S2 and S3 as per your agreement or as per the size of the customer or priority of the customer. Similarly, this pattern can be realized in asynchronous messaging patterns as well. For example, let's say there are multiple consumers or multiple services which want to process a particular message from your service, which want to do a certain processing from your service. So instead of directly calling you, what they can do is you can create a queue and they can basically push their messages in this queue. And you are going to consume messages from this queue. What is going to happen is, if everyone is using fair share of resources, there are going to be equal or almost equal number of messages for service S1, S2 and S3. Or even if these services are not pushing the messages directly, you can have different types of messages in a single queue, or messages from payloads from different types, different consumers who may have similar priorities. So in this case, let's say it is of type 1, it is of type 2, it is of type 3, and you want to have equal SLAs, service level agreements, for all these three messages or services. But since you are using a single queue, what is going to happen is, if any of the consumers, if any of the type of messages starts increasing, for example, let's say there are 20,000 messages from this service S1 or type T1, and there are only 200 and 200 messages from type T2 and type T3. What is going to happen is, processing of these messages is going to create a delay in processing for T2 and T3. So if, for example, all these messages are for T1 and this is T2, this is T2 and this is T3, all these messages are of T1. So your messages for T2 and T3 are going to be delayed because the service is going to process messages for T1 first. So there is no equal SLA in this type of scenario. What you can do is, instead of having a single queue, you can create multiple queues for each consumer. So for example, this is queue for T1, this is queue for T2, and this is queue for T3. And each service or each type of messages are basically published in a separate queue. And here in the consumer side, you can have either dedicated set of consumers for each queue. For example, you can have dedicated set of consumers for each queue, or it is also possible that you can have a single consumer which reads in a round robin fashion from each queue, so that SLAs and working priority is given equally to all the consumers and to all the types of messages. Here you can have different SLAs for different service. For example, let's say this is an enterprise level customer. This is an enterprise level customer, and it wants it is going to have higher number of messages or higher number of requests, and the rest of the consumers are low priority, not low priority, but they are normal consumers, or they don't have SLA for higher number of messages. So you can basically, if you have dedicated consumers for each queue, what you can do is you can basically auto scale or increase the number of consumers for this queue, because it has been agreed that T1 is going to send more number of messages. In this way, you will be able to maintain service agreements for all the types of messages, and single type of message. For example, if there is there are large number of messages of type T1, then it won't be affecting other types of messages, and your service is going to keep working as it is without impacting anyone. So this was a description of asynchronous messaging bulkhead, how you can create bulkhead pattern in asynchronous messaging. Let's come back to the service request pattern. So instead of having single connection pool or resource pools. We created multiple resource pools for this service. And what we can do is, instead of having different resource pools for different services, you can also combine a resource pool for some services as per your requirement. For example, if it has been agreed that these two services are not going to need much resources, then you can create a combined pool for them. Because when you are creating resource pools, you are limiting the number of requests, or you are limiting the resource usage for that compartment. So even if the request even if the requests for S1 are less than the total allowed request for this instance, it is just going to need it will get only this amount of resources, even if these amount of resources are free. So that can be considered wastage of resources. So you have to make a intelligent choice of when to use this bulkhead pattern. This pattern may not be suitable when you want a very cost effective service, or you want to control the cost, because creating bulkhead is going to incur extra cost in form of unused resources, because you have limited the number of resources for this service, and these resources are empty. If there was no bulkhead pattern, then these resources would also have been used for serving this customer, or for calling this service. So this pattern is generally used with the throttling and the circuit breaker. For example, you have multiple clients calling your service. So instead of allowing all these requests, what you can do is you can create rate limiting on your service. For example, this client can call 10 requests per second, and this client can call 20 requests per second. This is also required so that you can have fair share of resources, and you can also create circuit breakers. For example, let's say your service needs to call S1 and S2 and S3. You can have, as we have discussed, you can have a pool of resources for calling your services. And let's suppose this service is having degraded performance and it is utilizing all the resources. So instead of sending more requests to this service, what you can create is you can have a circuit breaker here, where your circuit breaker is going to check if the resources are utilized, or if the performance of service S1 is degraded or not. If it recognizes that performance for S1 has degraded, it can do that using 5xx. It can do that via timeouts, or it can do that via latency. And there are other mechanisms also. It can do that via a number of open connections. So if it recognizes that any of this combination is indicating degradation of service S1, what we can do is we can stop sending requests to this service, so that this service, if it was overwhelmed, it can recover. And we can basically check from time to time in form of heartbeat. For example, instead of sending all the requests, we can send 2-3 requests to get to know whether this service has improved its performance or not. If its performance is not improved, we can again stop sending the traffic. And if its performance has improved, we can start sending new requests to this server. In this way, we can have better control of resources, and this service will get some time to recover if it was overwhelmed due to large number of traffic or any other reason. So this is how circuit breaker works. When we say that breaker is open, it is like a normal. So for example, this is your battery and this is your bulb. What is going to happen is, since the connection is not closed, so the bulb is not going to glow. As soon as you basically close the connection, what is going to happen is your bulb is going to glow. This is how we say that when the connection is open, we are not sending the request. In circuit breaker terminology, when the connection is open, we are not sending the request because the connection is open. And when the connection is closed, when we close this connection, the bulb is going to glow. That means we are going to send the request. So circuit breaker terminology has been taken from physics. When we close the connection, when we open the circuit breaker, due to number of requests, timeouts, latency, any of the connection, any of the parameters on which we take the decision, if we open the connection, open the circuit breaker, we are not sending any request. And during this period, we are going to check periodically to service S1 whether it has improved or not. If it has improved, we are going to start sending new requests to service S1. This is called circuit breaker, and it can be used along with bulkhead pattern. Let's see how we are going to realize bulkhead pattern. So for example, if multiple clients are calling your service, or you have multi-tenant architecture, so multiple different services are going to call your service. So one thing you can do is, instead of having a single service, what you can do is you can create different service for each client. You can create different service for each client, and each client can basically use its own resources, and according to the SLA agreement, you can basically scale your service according to SLA. For example, if this is a bigger client, you can have multiple instances, and if these are smaller clients, you can have single instance. You can also have this type of architecture in which you can have multi-tenant architecture like this. C2 and C3 are using the same set of resources, and you have a dedicated resources for client C1, which is a bigger client or is expected to grow big in terms of traffic or in terms of enterprise value. Another thing can be done is, instead of having separate resources, we can have a single server in which you have containers running for each and every client. Like you have different containers for each client, and as per requirement, you can basically scale your containers on your service. This can be managed using Kubernetes, or you can basically have your own set of container management system. And also what you can do is you can have different processes. Containers are basically isolated processes, so you can either use containers, or you can have a process level management in which you're creating a process for each service, and you can scale your processes. But I have personally not worked with the process management for bulkhead pattern. It is easier to use the containers because they are easy to deploy. You have well established tools for container management, which can help you scale your architecture, and as well as creating compartments for different consumers or different tenants. This pattern is not suitable when you want to be cost effective, because creating compartment is going to lead to unused resources for compartments which are not fully utilized, and it is going to create cost overhead. So this is all for the bulkhead pattern. It has been taken from Microsoft architecture design patterns given on Microsoft website. Thank you and have a nice day.